Hi there. Thank you very much to Loxley Arts for the opportunity to share a wee bit more about who I am and what I do as an artist. So I'm recording this in my study because I paint from home in the attic and it's absolutely roasting because I'm recording this in summer and it's really hot. So an introduction, and I've got the questions in front of me as well, which really helps. So can you tell us a wee bit more about yourself, your artistic background and your education? So my name is Vicky Paul and I'm a self-taught intuitive abstract artist and I work with energy and color and the energy in color. So I loved art and always drew from a very young age. Both my grandparents were hobby artists, I guess you could call them. And my journey has taken me right the way from realism to surrealism, minimalism. And then as an adult, I found myself called to start painting in an abstract fashion. I hadn't painted for about 15 years. As an adult, I was pursuing other paths, and it wasn't until we had some miscarriages, which is a really difficult time for me, and I really struggled to communicate how I was feeling. And I just felt this urge to start painting again, but painting in an abstract fashion because it felt to me an easy way for me to express how I was feeling using the energy in abstract painting, the textures, the colors, etc. So my background is self-taught. I did want to go to art school, but ended up taking another path when I left school. So yeah, that's the kind of summation of it. So next question, can you take us through the process that you go through to complete your masterpieces? So as I'm actually a trained energy healer, which is why I love working with energy. And I believe we're all intuitive. We all have a gut instinct. We all have that sort of sense. But for me, after I had these experiences with the miscarriages, I found that I began to tap into more of this energy and it became heightened. And I started to explore different routes of energy healing and different modalities and found the whole thing fascinating, that sort of mind, body, spirit connection, and really connected with the whole physical world and energetic world. So for me, an intuitive abstract energy artist is someone who takes their mind or their thought process out of the creative process. So a lot of artists will, I guess their imagination comes from intuition. I believe that anyway, but they will start to articulate that process through the thoughts of, does this look right? Where will that go? Etc. etc. For me, it's a much more fluid and almost unconscious process. So it's kind of like a download, a channel of information. And to get ready to paint, I paint two different ways. I have a sort of series of paintings that I would call energy paintings that are just an expression of how I'm feeling and what I feel called to create at any one time. And for that, it's something just like an intuition. It's right, I feel creative today. I've got to go and express myself in whatever fashion that is. And as I said, I paint up in the attic studio. So I tend to create very quickly. I love working with acrylic paints because they dry quickly and it allows me to add layer upon layer because a lot of my work has many layers to it, and it allows me to move through that process and just tap into the feeling in the moment. Sometimes I will listen to a beautiful piece of music. Now that could be a very sort of peaceful and tranquil type of music, but also I'm a bit of a raver back in the day and I love dance music and I can lose myself in the same way to dance music as I can in silence as well. So if I'm not feeling called to paint to music and silence is sort of the entry point, then I will sometimes do a meditation. I sometimes dance, anything that will really get me out of my body, out of my head and into that state of flow. I always start with a blank canvas, and I have to say this is not a paid for partnership, but I do love Loxley canvas because they're firm and I like the sound they make when your hand hits off the canvas. It just feels like a drum. And sometimes I do tap the canvas and I sort of rub my hands over the canvas just to get that energy flowing. I sometimes paint against the wall. I sometimes paint on the floor. I never paint on an easel just because I've just found it too wobbly. I like a lot of movement. Oh, and I've got some lipstick on my teeth. Paint, like lipstick, gets everywhere. Hence the need for a separate studio. So once I've sort of unwrapped the canvas and I have that blank space in front of me, the first go-to is always color. So I will empty my jars and pots of color, not empty the paint onto the floor, but empty the tubes and the pots and everything onto the floor, and just really look over the paints and just feel what colors I'm drawn to. And I'll select the paints and then select the tools. More often than not, I tend to use a spatula, my fingers, other objects that aren't paintbrushes, because this is one of my pieces here. I like a lot of movement. I love the way that paint lands on the canvas. We cannot control how the paint splashes on the canvas. So a lot of my work has splashing in it just because I love the energy of it. I do work with spray paint. This is actually copper spray paint here. And I do work with masking tape sometimes, just whatever I feel called to express and explore. And I'm never aware of what I'm doing or what's going to come next. It just flows. And I will know when a painting is finished, whether it's adding paint, taking paint, using some mixed media, changing it, restarting again, sometimes ripping the canvas. So it's one of these things I will feel when it is right. And that can happen very quickly, but sometimes it can be left over a period of weeks and months where I start a painting and then leave it and go back to it. And it's one of these things that'll just say, right, that's it, done. And my work here is finished. And I feel as an intuitive artist that I am, the sort of fun in the process is in the creating of it. I'm not an artist who feels precious about holding on to their work. The whole point of me in painting is to help people reconnect with who they are as spiritual beings, so that they can find their own truth, find their own passion, their own purpose, and just to sort of reignite that light within them. So I feel my paintings are visual tools and energetic tools to help people do that. So I am happy to see them find new homes. So once they're painted, I then varnish them, and the name always comes retrospectively, and it is literally like a download. It'll just instantly pop into my head, and that's it. I never think about it. I never consider, oh, this looks like or that looks like, because for me, abstract art is something very different to everybody that looks at it, depending on where they are in their own journey. What is it about abstract that I love to paint? Well, it's just the freedom of abstract art for me. And I mean, I loved painting realism, and sort of as a hobby when I was younger, I used to copy Picasso and off the top of my head. I'm also going through the menopause as well. So if there's sort of blips in this video of memory, then that is the reason. Peter Howson, love Peter Howson, Scottish artist, and just love the kind of sinew and the texture and the shapes that he used to create, the sort of figures that he used to create. And I loved doing that. And I actually still have two mini Picassos, the lady lying down that I drew in my dining room. But for me now, it feels too restrictive and too obvious. And whilst I have huge admiration for particularly hyperrealism, which is really popular at the moment, for me, it feels obvious. It feels familiar. And I don't want that for myself or for anyone who is viewing my art. So abstract art allows me to not only interpret what I feel inspired to share, because I believe I am sharing universal energy. I believe I'm connecting with a higher power source energy and channeling that information as shapes, pattern, texture, color. So for me, it's about, or abstract art is about an opening, a window, a possibility. Because every time you look at an abstract painting, you will spot something different. You will feel something different, dependent on how you're feeling within yourself on that day. And that's what I love about abstract art, because it works for both me as a creative and an artist, but also anyone who views it. And the fact that it opens up a possibility, it opens up a journey within yourself is the exciting part about abstract art for me. So yeah. Through your time painting, what has been the most important thing that you have learned? Oh my God, patience, 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 and trust the process. I believing in myself that the painting will take me where it needs to take me, and the painting will unfold as it wants to. Because there's an awful thing with creatives of self-doubt, and I don't know about you, but I find even with my head firmly screwed on, and somebody, that lipstick keeps on my teeth. I'll do that, there we go. And somebody who, you know, has, like I said, got her head screwed on. Sometimes when I'm on social media or I'm looking at other artists, not to find inspiration, just to see what people are up to and try and connect and find like-minded souls, I can find myself being drawn into their world and influenced by their process and their style and their texture, etc. And what I don't want to do is that very thing. I want to try and be me and stay true to my artistic path and my artistic process. So probably the most challenging thing that has happened to me, and I'm still learning, but a lot better at, is having patience in terms of the process of being an artist, because it's difficult. You know, it's you know, for any of you that are watching who are, you know, self-employed and using art as your sole income, you know yourself, art and the creative side of things is just very much a small part of it. The whole other stuff is the marketing, the admin, the sales, is the business entrepreneurial side of it. And it can be very difficult to juggle these and allow these to flow evenly, particularly as somebody who's an empath and a sensitive. So that's been a difficult thing to juggle, the kind of patience of allowing the business to unfold, and marrying those two sort of very different aspects to being an artist, but also staying true to what is my process and my, I don't want to say style because your style changes, but my expression as a human being and as a soul being, and my interpretation of using the materials in front of me. So that's been tricky. It's a work in progress. Do you have any art influences? If so, what are they? Well, to be honest, life influences me as an intuitive, because I connect with energy and I express energy. For me, nature, flowers, I love flowers and the color and vibrancy of flowers, but I paint how we interact with energy and how we feel about that energy, how that energy shifts within us. So life in general, emotions, people, everything I see around me, I would say affects and effects how I paint and how I create, not consciously, because I do genuinely try to stay away from external stimuli and sort of copying or mirroring or trying to replicate what I'm visually seeing. It's much more of an interpretation of what I see and how my body assimilates that information and how I process that information and how ultimately it makes me feel. But I do love color. Hilariously, I'm wearing black today, but that's because it's hot. And actually, color from an energetic point of view, black absorbs negative energy. So I must be feeling the need to wear black today. But yeah, color and people, and not so much sort of the politics and that side of thing. It's more about the feelings of what I see and how I interact and who I interact with and what I'm inspired by. But definitely color and the energy in color. I've always had a lot of color in my wardrobe, and I love color in and around my home. What makes a good day for you? Well, a great day for me is time uninterrupted in the studio with no pressure to do the business side of art. I love working on commissions for people because I love that process of connecting with someone. And I work with clients all over the world, and it's that connection, that trust, and that it's an exciting process for me to see what unfolds for them. And I create and paint what I call soul energy portraits, which are intuitive, abstract reflections of who you are as an energetic being. And there are many, many, many layers on them. And the information that comes through, you know, and the easiest way to describe it, if this is your energy and this is my energy, we blend, and I interpret that information into color, shapes, texture. And I also get kind of download of memories and guidance. And these soul energy portraits are kind of like a guidebook to your life. They're a visual meditation tool, I guess, to express where you are, where you've been, and where you're going. They're a wonderful process. But that for me, it's such an exciting process, and I love working in that way because it's all about trust for me. It's trust in the process. It's trust that what will come through from my client will be the right information, but also that bond that's created between a stranger somewhere else in the world, that they have fallen in love with my art enough to commission me to create something for their home, because I'm a Cancerian, and home and the sort of interiors, I love interiors. It's such an important part of who I am. So the fact that somebody's bought something for me to hang in their home is wonderful. So also selling, I get such a buzz out of selling and wrapping and packing work, and learning new things. You know, I've just done a new collection, although by the time this comes out, it might be previous collection, called the Chakra Collection. And it was a really interesting process to create something specific and then expand upon that with limited edition prints and smaller framed versions and all the rest of it. So exploring and learning new things also is a good day for me. Do you showcase or exhibit any of your work? If so, where can we find it? Yeah, I do exhibit. So I've had, to date, this is being filmed in July, so I'm just finished an exhibition in a local private members club with my Chakra collection. I'm hoping to be in an art fair this autumn, just waiting to hear if I've been selected. I've also got another piece going into a summer exhibition in a gallery in London. I find out about that at the end of July. So again, this is all happening retrospectively. You can also find my work online. I mostly sell online, vickypaul.com, and I'm sure Loxley will put the link into the text below this. But yeah, who knows, come December, hopefully there'll be more exhibitions coming up. And I love exhibiting and I love fairs because it gives me the opportunity to not only watch people react and interact with my work, but just to get the chance to chat to them as well about my work, because there's not a lot of people doing sort of psychic, intuitive, mediumship, energy type painting and using that and opening up to that as an influence. As an aside, I believe everybody, their imagination and their inspiration comes from their spirit. But there's a whole different genre, you know, of that kind of psychic connection, which I love exploring as well. So what are your future plans and how do you see your career as an artist developing? Gosh, well, world domination, obviously. I would just, where would I see my career? I'm going out to Dubai in September, so I will have been to Dubai the time this is live. I understand it's going out at the end of this year. So I would love to expand further and start exhibiting abroad and exhibiting internationally. I would love to do a lot more commercial work because I work with energy. I would love to create work for outdoor spaces, for public spaces, public buildings on a large scale to help change and transform the energy of a place or a space, which is what my work's really all about. But to do that on a bigger scale, I would love to collaborate with brands. I'd love to do an interior designer line. So whether that's soft furnishings, curtains, wallpapers, my God, the list is endless. I think for me, it's just about sharing not only my art, but my art as an opening to energy. And ultimately what I want to do as an artist is to help people reconnect with themselves, to help them step away from society's expectation of who they should be and how they should live their life, and allow them to uncover and interpret who they are individually and have the confidence to express that because they've tapped into their own energy. They've recognized and realized that, you know, we're all more than the physical world we inhabit and how we express and interpret that world round about us through our sort of 5 physical senses. So it's all about helping people on their spiritual path, I guess. My work is spiritual at the very essence of what it is, although you don't need to be spiritual or religious to engage with it. But if it has that effect on you, then, you know, all the better for me. So from a career point of view, I just want to keep going. You know, I'm going to be one of these people that's probably going to paint till they pop their clogs because it's such a passion of mine. But to exhibit globally, to do more workshops. I love taking workshops. I do painting workshops. So it would be lovely to take those workshops further afield into wellness retreats, wellness festivals around the world. So yeah, I want to involve travel because that's been such an influence of mine. And I love the different senses and meeting different cultures, which is why I love living down just outside London, because it's such a melting pot. And that, as I said earlier, is very much part of my inspiration. So working globally, working with other artists. I would love to specifically set up and try and establish a spiritual psychic mediumship art event, because I feel it kind of gets swept under the carpet, but that's for another video. So trying to recapture people's imagination for this kind of art and how it has changed from the Victorian era and the Himla af Klimts in our days, although fabulous artist, just, you know, the changes that have happened, because I know a lot of spiritual artists. So I guess probably trying to evolve that side of things. Yeah, and just inviting in and being open to all possibilities. It's such an amazing career. It's such an amazing opportunity to be able to do what I love. And it's taken time. You know, I'm in my late 40s now, and I've kind of come to this sort of sales side of things. I've been selling for about 4 or 5 years, and I went full time, it's about 18 months or 2 years ago now by the time this video is out. So growing, developing, evolving, connecting, expanding, and changing and developing as an artist, and just working with different people, working in different areas. Yeah, so thank you so much for watching this video, and thank you to Loxley for the opportunity to share what I do. And of course, if anybody wants to get in touch and has been inspired by this and wants to collaborate or explore meeting up, I'd love to see you. You can get in touch. My website address is vickypaul.com, VICKYPAUL.com, and you can find me. I hang out mostly on Instagram, and my handle is Vicky, VICKYJ Paul. Lots of love. Bye.